If you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or even 50s, please watch this video. I want to urge you to stop sacrificing the best years of your life, to start living now. A recent conversation I had with my husband really broke my heart and was like a truth bomb moment. So in this video, I want to explore this question. Are we basically renting out the best decades of our lives? And if we are, what do we do about that? I want to start with that conversation that happened a few months ago. My husband and I, we were just walking around together, chatting, and he told me that he decided he wanted to start buying an extra 5 days worth of annual leave from his company every year going forward. And he said something like this: I am approaching 50 now. I am not getting any younger. Every extra day of freedom I can buy for myself means so much to me. He said that he would rather have more time now, while he's still relatively young and healthy, than have that equivalent time decades later in retirement. And honestly, hearing him say that, I don't know, like almost made me cry. I was way more emotional than he was. It just felt so poignant and sad. The idea that we literally have to buy back a few meager days a year. It also made me realize how much sacrifice he's been making for us all these years. It just really made me so churned up inside. I've been reflecting on those words a lot. I think a lot more than he has actually. So for most people, this is basically the structure of modern life. You spend the healthiest, most energetic decades of your life working full time from say the age of 21 to like 65, and then eventually you get your freedom at the end of it, if all goes well. But by then, you're not the same person physically, are you? Let me tell you another story. My stepdad, who is in his early 80s, he went on a 2-week Mediterranean cruise holiday this year. Guess how many times he managed to get off that cruise ship? Once. He only managed to get out once in Tenerife to buy his mate some duty-free cigarettes, and he said that it was a huge struggle and he kind of regretted doing it. He said it wasn't worth it. For context, my stepdad has loads of health and mobility issues, typical of someone his age. And the funny thing is, I told my son about this. Guess what he said in response? His words were, "Wow, that's worse than going to school." He didn't say prison, he said school. That really made me laugh. Maybe that's a topic for another video. I think his response is very telling. Anyway, what my stepfather told me, it really affected me emotionally as well, because I thought, wow, isn't this the tragedy of modern life sometimes? You finally get the time and the money in your 70s, 80s, but your body is no longer able to enjoy it. And obviously, I'm not saying older people can't enjoy life. Like, of course they can. My stepdad still enjoys life, but, it's a much more contained kind of life. You simply cannot deny that there's a difference between traveling the world in your 20s, 40s, and versus in your 80s. They're just not the same thing. And I think my husband is now very aware of that reality, of his aging and mortality. Aware of the fact that time, especially healthy time, is so finite, so short. That got me thinking more broadly about the way most of us live. Now, listen, I know the term wage slavery is so emotionally loaded. Obviously, modern employment is not literal slavery, so I think we need to bear that in mind. But I do think many people resonate so emotionally with that phrase, myself included, because of the feeling of having very little ownership over your own time for the majority of your adult life. Think about the texture of everyday existence for most working people, right? You wake up at around like 7 a.m., you get ready for work, you log into work or commute to work from roughly 9 to 5, often much longer. Your time is not yours. It has been hired out to your employer. Then Friday comes around and everybody lives for the weekend. It's all amazing. Saturday is awesome. Sunday morning is okay. And then Sunday afternoon arrives and this feeling of dread starts creeping in. Oh God, Monday again? And then the cycle repeats week after week, month after month, year after year. for 40 something years. Just let that sink in for a moment. It's freaking depressing.
I came across this quote from Camus, the philosopher, in a book the other day, since I filmed the video, and it's so on point and relevant to this video. I thought I had to share it with you guys. Rising, streetcar, 4 hours in the office or the factory. Meal, streetcar, 4 hours of work, meal, sleep, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, according to the same rhythm. This path is easily followed most of the time, but one day the why arises and everything begins in that weariness tinged with amazement. So good.
Now, I know that as humans, we have always needed to work. Even prehistoric hunter-gatherers had to work for a living. Not work in the modern sense, obviously, but they had to, hunt and gather food for survival. So yes, I think work has, in the broader sense, has always been part of human existence, even in the animal world. Human beings need, I think they have a need to feel productive, to contribute and have a sense of purpose. What's increasingly difficult for many people now is the sheer amount of time work consumes. Anthropologists estimate that prehistoric humans spent maybe 3 to 5 hours per day on sort of survival-related activity. And the way they worked was also very different. Other than hunting and gathering, they spent time creating things like making tools, just making things, making clothes for themselves. Many of their activities would have been self-directed. Most of them would have been. Obviously, we shouldn't romanticize this way of life too much. The modern world has a lot to offer, loads of advantages, like, we don't have to worry about being eaten by a tiger and stuff like that. But still, I think it's not too controversial to say that the modern work life is not natural. While I myself don't work 9 to 5, watching my husband live that life and watching so many other people around me live that life has made me think about this issue much more deeply. Now let's turn to the practical part. What do we do about this? Is there a way to escape all this? What would that even look like? Should we even seek to escape it? So I want to approach this from two angles. So the first is this: if this is reality for most of us, how do we still live meaningful, happy lives within these constraints? Because honestly, I've come to realize there's not much point spending your entire life raging against reality. Sometimes reality simply is what it is. I've been getting into Taoism recently, and one concept is relevant here. Taoism emphasizes not going against the way things are or nature, 自然. Of course, like I said earlier, the current way we work in the modern world is perhaps not natural, but in the context of most people's reality, I would argue that it is the way things are. A Taoist might say that we should try to be like water instead of fighting it. So basically, to adapt to the world around us rather than, force it to adapt to us. What might that look like in real life? Look, most people are probably not going to become millionaires at 35 and retire to Bali, right? Most people are going to work normal jobs for most of their adult lives, like my husband. So within that reality, how do we protect our humanity and happiness? And I think one answer is, don't postpone living. Don't give absolutely everything to work. Do your job well, yes, be responsible, earn your money, but there's no need to constantly, endlessly sacrifice your evenings, weekends, health, relationships, and mental well-being in pursuit of more money, more status, more recognition. Learn to set boundaries. I think this is so important. Protect your time, protect your family life, protect your peace, and most of all, your time. Time, not money, is the ultimate non-renewable resource we have as individuals, as human beings. I think my husband understands this now. That's why those extra days, 5 days of annual leave, matters so much to him. They are not just days off, they are days of life, of freedom. And I genuinely believe that as human beings, we all have a deep-seated desire for freedom and autonomy. And a second point, don't delay gratification too much. In the West, I think many people have trouble delaying gratification from what I see on YouTube. But I have a slightly different perspective because I come from a scarcity-driven culture, Chinese culture, that really values delaying gratification, sometimes to an extreme. But looking at my stepdad and, loads of other people, my husband and I now ask ourselves, geez, what's the point of saving up all this money if we can't enjoy it while we are still relatively young and healthy? So my advice is, within reason and responsibly, I encourage anyone watching this to enjoy life right now. As in, don't be afraid to spend money on things and experiences that actually matter to you. For us, that's travel. Yes, we want to see the world, but also more importantly, our family members mostly live abroad, so we want to be able to spend time with them. My husband and I still save quite aggressively for retirement, but we've both come to realize that we do want to travel more while we are young. Okay, then there's the second angle, the second level of this conversation. Are there alternative ways to live? And I think there probably are. One option is something like the FIRE movement. Saving and investing aggressively so you can retire much earlier and reclaim more time for yourself while you still have energy and mobility. While I don't fully subscribe to the FIRE movement, I can definitely, without a doubt, see its merit. In principle, I think saving and investing from a youngish age is a sound strategy. Because the way I see it is this: the more money you have in the bank, the more power you have in saying no to things that you don't want to do, that you don't agree with, that you fucking hate. For me, money, more than anything else, means freedom. So yes, maybe there's no need to aim to retire at 35, but definitely I would say, teach yourself about saving and investing and start doing it. There are tons of resources on YouTube. And then there's a second alternative that I myself am increasingly drawn to, I suppose. It might sound crazy at first, like it goes against everything I've just said, but hear me out. I actually want to carry on working for as long as possible. Yep, hear me out. I genuinely like the idea of working well into my 70s if the work is suited to my ability, my personality and temperament, if it's flexible and done on my own terms. For example, I used to teach languages privately years ago, which I actually loved. And recently I've started moving back into teaching again after losing so much translation work to AI. Actually, guys, if you're new to my channel, I'm a freelance translator by profession. I'm also a language teacher, but I work for myself. I'm self-employed and freelance. And yeah, the translation work hasn't been going that well recently, but even with translation, I can honestly say that I enjoy the work. It doesn't mean to say I love it. No, I wouldn't do it for free. No way. I wouldn't do it for free, but for me, it's the kind of work that sort of comes naturally to me and I enjoy doing and I'm good at. I've thought about it. If I could teach or translate for, say, 3-4 hours a day, earn enough to support a simple lifestyle, maybe live in a lower cost country one day. We live in the UK, for those of you new to the channel. That actually sounds incredibly appealing to me. And my husband actually feels the same. He works in IT. He's 9 years older than me. We talked about this and we both agreed on one thing. When you're in your 60s and beyond, it's good to have the option not to work. But it's even better if you have some kind of work that you can do on your own terms. The key word here, though, is option. It's different if you feel like you have no choice but be a wage slave until the day you die. The book Ikigai actually explores this idea. I know Ikigai is controversial. Some people hate it. Rogelio, if you're watching this, I'm sorry to bring this up again, but I do think it serves a purpose. It's not completely useless in my view. Many people in Okinawa apparently continue working in some form well into old age, like their 80s. Not because they are trapped, but because purposeful activity keeps them engaged, connected, and mentally alive. And I think there's definitely truth in that. So it's just one thing to consider, I think. It's just a new way of looking at this whole work-life situation. Another real-life example. So my father-in-law, he lives in Sydney. He's in his early 70s and drives Uber a few days a week for maybe, 4 hours a day. And he loves it. He genuinely loves it. He says he loves meeting people, having conversations, having structure to his days, and earning a bit of extra money in his retirement. So my father-in-law's cousin, who is in his late 70s, maybe even early 80s, I'm not too sure, he followed his example, and apparently he told him, "Why didn't you tell me about this earlier? This is awesome." So maybe the goal is not complete escape from work. Maybe the goal is having more ownership over how work fits into your life, more autonomy, more flexibility, more balance. To balance work and life in a way that allows you to enjoy living in the present and not sacrifice your best years for a boss who doesn't give a shit. That doesn't mean changing your job necessarily. You can just decide to set boundaries and mentally reclaim some freedom for yourself. So just a final message before we wrap up. None of us know how much healthy time we actually have left, or even time we have left. I know people who died in their late 30s, 40s, 50s unexpectedly. It's scary. So start living now. It can start with simply changing your mindset, even if you can't escape, wage slavery right now. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I write on Substack. It's completely free to subscribe. So do check it out if you like my content. Link down below. If you want to support me or connect with me, have conversations with me, check out my Patreon page. Link down below as well. Thank you everyone and see you next time. Bye.